think a good soil is going to be around 600 to 800. But if you're down around 300 parts per million, you're pretty low. And organic matter has a play in it. So the better organic matter you got, usually the better epoxy carbon you got. Where soluble carbon, that's not the truth, or that's not the facts. Soluble carbon can wave no matter what your organic matter is. Reactive carbon, also known as epoxy carbon, oxidized carbon molecule. Premanganate oxidized carbon is what it means. It means it can take on hydroxyls, which is a split water molecule. And here's your ranges. I think that was a study done by Cornell itself on organic matter and how it relates to label carbon. Is another term for it.
Does the 80s test show reactive carbon levels?
Soluble carbon.
That's the same.
No. It's not. Soluble carbon is a very good carbon, very active carbon. It's a food for the biology, but it's not the total. It's not the total active carbon you got in your soil. The problem I got with soluble carbon is it's seasonal and it's reactive according to the season. So in the summers they'll go up when you're growing a crop. Falls, right after harvest, they drop because the biology cell is sitting there feeding, so they're going to feed on it and drop it. Jerry's example is a prime example of it. It dropped on his fall test. And then in the wintertime, you'll come back a little bit through dormancy, through freezing and thawing. And then the springtime comes after you break dormancy, it's going to drop again because the biology is coming out and there's no root exodites feeding it until you get something growing, unless you got cover crops. Cover crops will sustain it because you're always throwing exodites out there. And then in the summertime, it comes back up. Where label carbon is very stable. I mean, you do a label test, I'm guessing that's going to be good for 5-6 years. Okay. No AG applied. Who we got here? Oh, this is a repeat from the other one. Somehow it got put in there twice. Sorry. All right, 10-year sap test results. Plants need a dominant on calcium from small to reproductive age, and then we want the potassium to take over. Calcium is the trucker of all nutrients. Calcium, Tracy was really good at explaining this. Calcium's like you're going to a carnival and you're buying tickets, and all the little kids can't get in without a parent, right? A guardian. Well, the calcium, look at it as the guardian. It can get in there at no charge. It can exchange the nutrients without having to pay a penalty, you might say, where the little kids are going to have to pay a penalty. Probably spank them when they get home if they're on their own, right? Oops. All right, but anyway, that's kind of a synopsis of calcium. Potassium moves in because potassium, we want the potassium in control late in the season because it tells the sugars where to go. We need good potassium to get good kernel fill. If you want that weight in that kernel, it takes good potassium levels after pollination. Because after pollination, you made the follicle. Calcium's kind of done its job, so you kind of want to flip-flop. That's why it's really great to foliar feed with metallicate potassium after pollination. You can really put the dry matter in that kernel. Because it's a fact. The bigger the kernel, the better the yield, the better the weight. It's not just test weight, it's how fat you make that kernel. And how big you make that soybean. And how full you make that alfalfa stem. That's all calcium. It's all done with potassium and boron. Okay?
Well, on the bottom though, it says soil applied, no foliar. It didn't say foliar.
Whoops. Soil applied liquid potassium, no foliar. That got snuck in there, Randy. You caught me. Soil test 120 to 200 parts per million. Get soluble calcium levels up. That's. Oh, I know what this is about. This is about.
Sap test results. That slide's about sap test.
Oh.
It's total potassium, not active potassium.
Thank you. That helped you, Randy?
No, start over now.
sap tests up, you need volume.